The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
What is up, Nickel City Mafia? Welcome to another edition of Sunday Night Bills Talk. It is finally here, Mr. Podger. It is finally here. The first week of the regular season. Monday Night Football tomorrow. Bills, Jets. We're going to talk about that, all about it. But I want to kind of catch up. First of all, how are you doing, sir? I feel like I don't know. I don't talk to you. You've been a busy man. How are you?
Oh, it's been crazy, Mike. I was in Canada this past week. Then I went from Canada right to Verona, New York at the Turning Stone for another wedding. So I was in one, then I went to another. I wasn't in that one because luckily, that kind of matched up perfectly, which was great. But yeah, it's been a marathon. I mean, we've been going nonstop, been partying a lot, been drinking a lot. Voice is a little hoarse. It's always a little hoarse after those big events, especially two back-to-back. Holy smokes, high energy, high vibes. You just can't beat it. And what a way to cap it off. We got our first week of football here, NFL Sunday in the books almost. And, man, it's been a crazy week one, that's for sure.
Yeah, I do want to mention this is the only show where you can get 50-cent wings, dollar drinks all night long. Look, Jake, we worked it out with the establishment. No more 1 hour for the dollar drinks. It's all night. It's whenever the show, however long it takes the show to get done. And then we got Logan Berry on tap. And today's wing shout out, I'm going to throw it to you. We don't have any slides, but we're going to shout out a wing spot just like we do every week.
Yeah, so my shout out for this week is Elmo's, which is located in the North Towns here. It's right by UB North Campus. And I don't get out there as often as I used to. I used to commute to UB on a daily basis. But I don't really go north of Ridge Road anymore these days unless I absolutely have to. But this is a great reason to do so. Elmo's is actually one of Khalil Mack's favorite wing spots in Buffalo, and it's for good reason. Their specialty is this double dip sauce. So they do like a medium wing sauce, and then they can double dip it with like a barbecue sauce. And my gosh, it's like a combination of just heaven. And the way that they do it, it's just perfect. So, it's definitely in my top 5 wing places. I think I just drop it down a notch just because you got to drive all the way out to the North Town. So if you're from the South Towns, you just don't want to make that drive. Everything's too close together. As soon as you hit that blue water tower on the 290 there, it's just an absolute nightmare. And I have flashbacks coming home from practice from UB and, hitting that 5 o'clock traffic. It's brutal, but it is well worth the trip out to Elmo's. It's a great time there. Little dive bar, little hole in the wall place, but my gosh, their wings are heavenly. So again, their specialty there, they do the double dip, which is just like, it's just the chef's kiss. Because not only are you going to get that buffalo style with the medium wing or hot wing, whatever you prefer, but you're also going to get, you could do the barbecue as well in addition to it. So I know like you are a very traditional wing person, Mike. So it's a nice little spin on things because you get the best of both worlds with that, with the new age barbecue coming in and then the old age, traditional buffalo wing. So just a beautiful spot. So shout out to Elmo's.
I love it. I love it. Let's say hi to the folks in the channel here. We got Timmy coming in. He's, there's a little bit of rain in the forecast. It's supposed to clear up before game time. But, yeah. I mean, right now it's literally an hour before game time where it's supposed to clear up. And you never know with the weather, man. We could see some rain into the early parts of the game. Let's see. He says kind of anxious after watching Pat's game and Giants game now. And, were there weather in those games, both of them?
Yeah, it's raining right now in that Cowboys and Giants game, and it's definitely. I mean, you even look anywhere in the Northeast today that had games, it was rainy or overcast, and it was on and off all game long. So, obviously it's a concern. You think the Bills are a team that's built to play in the elements, but it seems like whenever we do play in the elements, things seem to go south. So I understand your level of concern there, Timmy. But hey, that's why we drafted a guy with big hands, Josh Allen. He's going to get it done. He could throw the ball through any condition out there. I think the biggest concern is not really Josh Allen. It's the receivers catching the football.
Yeah. We also saw the rain affect the Cleveland Brown game. and the Bengals, which was one of the surprises that we're going to talk about in a little bit. We got We got Keith out there. Of course, he's going to show up. His team wins what a game.
Oh, yeah.
What a fantastic game. They go into SoFi Stadium and beat the Chargers by 2 points. It was a back and forth. I think there was something like 5 lead changes. And Tua looked fantastic. He was mobile when he needed to. They gave him good protection. I mean, Tyreek Hill went for something insane, over 200 yards receiving. And it was just a fantastic game. So he's out there. Good to see you, Keith. You right now are leading the division. You are leading the division right now. Sophia, good to see you out there. Aloha. Thanks. I'm all about neon lately. I saw some cool neon backgrounds. I'm like, hey, I'm going to try to make these in Photoshop. So there you go. That's my best attempt so far. They'll get even better.
Hell yeah.
We got John Robert out there for Spectrum users. Game is on ABC, FYI. Interesting.
Interesting. That is interesting.
Yeah.
He's saying that for the Bills game tomorrow. Okay, I thought he meant for tonight. So I'm like, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, no.
But tomorrow, yes, that makes sense.
And then Keith, I wish Philly did buffalo wings like Buffalo did. Yeah, for sure. But then,
well, you guys got the Philly cheesesteak.
Yeah,
so I'll trade you, one for the other. I think we can ship each other our best options. I'll ship you some Bar-Bill wings. You could ship me some. I forget what the name of the famous Philly place is, the Philly cheesesteak place is, but you send me that and I'll send you some.
All right, we got my dad showing up. Hey, Dad, it's been a while since we've seen you, and happy to see you out there. And then Timmy coming back with a lot of drop passes and weird fumbles in both games. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's always a concern, man. And like you said, Jake, it's not so much Josh. I mean, because they were talking it up in the Burrow game, right? And they were saying how Burrow, one of the knocks is he has small hands. Can he grip it? And he hates to wear gloves. And I don't know, did he struggle because of that? It appeared so.
Oh yeah, big time. It was really crazy to see just how bad the Bengals laid an egg. But I think it's their last 5 openers. They have been 1-4 in those games, and they seem to have figured it out as the season goes on. So you'd almost rather be a team that starts slow, finishes fast, and that's what they have been. So the level of concern isn't too high, but of course, Joe Burrow just signs the largest deal in NFL history, and then he goes out and throws for 82 yards. So it's that was a tough L for them. And the Browns, man, they, for whatever reason, Joe Burrow just can't seem to win in Cleveland. I don't know what it is, but he has not won a game yet in Cleveland.
Timmy's saying Tua was visiting the Iron Paradise this offseason. Looks swole.
Oh, yeah.
Is that a young talk for he looks built? I mean, what's the swole?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You got to interpret some of these younger terms for me there.
Think swole like.
Okay.
Like that. How close are you to Muscle Beach? Probably a couple hours away.
Who?
You.
Me? What's it? Muscle Beach?
Muscle Beach. It's like.
I think it's in L.A.
L.A.
So okay. I'm about 2 hours away.
Okay, gotcha.
I used to hang out with the guys back in the day. Yeah. Back in the day.
You used to frequent that area. You and Arnold, you guys used to get after it a little bit.
Definitely.
Nice.
We got Cynthia Moss saying, rather have Jim stake us. Nice.
Hell
Cynthia,
yeah. You
nice to see you.
About, now, Jim Stakeout, that is like, there are several fast food places in Buffalo that are musts. Ted's, Jim Stakeout, and Mighty Taco. Those are the top 3 right there. You could rearrange those in any order you'd like, but those are just the best of the best right there. So glad you gave that a good shout out there, Cynthia. Appreciate the hell out of that.
He's saying that there was a fire and they're closed right now. So interesting. Do they just have one, Keith? Is it a chain or is it just one place?
He's different gyms. I was going to say I didn't see the fire there, but yeah, he's thinking of a different gym.
Okay.
Keith, we have this place called Jim's Steakout here, and they have their own take on like a Philly cheesesteak, but instead they use a chicken finger. They do a stinger. So they do like the buffalo chicken finger on there. You have the steak, you have the cheese. Oh, it's a great combination, especially after you've been drinking. And let me tell you, even when you're sober, it still hits just as good.
Well, let's talk a little bit. We kind of talked about some of the surprises. We talked about the Bengals and the Chiefs a little bit. We mentioned that. So big upset there. And I think you and Ian need to revisit your predictions for the Bengals. I'm sorry, for the Browns. I think you had a win in 4 games where they've already got one, and they looked pretty damn good there. Basically everything, most of us who thought they were a better team than that, good run, good defense, and Deshaun Watson looked pretty darn good. I mean, he's He can hurt you with the run. He can hurt you with the throw. Yes, it was raining big time there, but they pulled it out pretty big time. 24-3, something like that?
Yeah, 24-3. Yep.
Obviously, you saw the Chiefs lose on Thursday night. Big upset there. Oh, kind of. They did have their hands tied behind their back without Kelsey and Jones, but still, you got to give Detroit the win. You got to give them all the credit in the world. To go into Arrowhead is no easy task. Patriots, man. Patriots giving Philly all they can handle. I mean, down 17 at half, I think it was, and they fight back with a chance to win the game. They had the ball at the end of the game. That's all you can ask for. So pretty impressive there. Who else did we had? Tua. We talked about Tua. He lights up the Chargers. Back and forth game. And I always feel bad. Like, I'm out here in SoCal. So you could see, if you're listening, I was watching that game, and it felt like a home game for the Dolphins. Similar to when I was out in there for Buffalo last year, opening day on Thursday Night Football. You know, the Mafia showed up and took over the stadium. And you can see that with the Dolphins. They traveled well. I always feel bad for both the Rams and the Chargers, man. You have to see them go to silent count. How bad is that? In your own stadium, you got to go with a silent count, Jake.
It's really bad. I mean, that is a telling sign right there that you are living in a city of transplants, and the people that are there, I mean, there might be a few diehards, but they're probably just people that want to go see a football game more so than just actual fans of the LA Chargers. Or, you know, if there are fans there, it's usually for the other team. So I'm sure there were probably more Dolphins fans there than Chargers fans, which is just so unfortunate because I feel like the Chargers, man, they always get screwed, whether it's in the actual football game or their fan base or moving from San Diego to LA, because they had a really good fan base in San Diego, and people were really upset when Spanos moved the team. And gosh, I feel so bad for that team, man. I really, really do, on so many different levels.
Yeah, definitely. They lost a lot of the fan base when they moved from San Diego. I have a lot of friends that I work with that were big Charger fans, and they just didn't follow them when the team left. Kind of be like, put it this way. The Bills left Buffalo, Jake. And I'll ask you this. The Bills left Buffalo, and let's say they went to Texas, because that was a rumor a few years back. They could go to Texas. Would you follow them?
I think I'd still follow them, but would I have the same attachment? Definitely not. I think there's something to be said about having a team in your own city. It's just different. You feel it. You feel the vibes each week as you head into game day. You feel like the ups and downs. You have the media coming at your throat every freaking week. You feel all of that. You feel all the things that the players are feeling. And when they move away, I've never been a part of something like that, but I can only imagine that it's a detachment basically, and it's just not the same. So while I'd still, obviously I'd still watch them and whatnot, I wouldn't have the same affection that I have now towards the team.
Yeah.
And I'd be so salty.
I got to experience it like with the Buffalo Braves when I was a young kid. They left for San Diego, and I never looked back. I pivoted, and the Celtics became my favorite team. So Sophia says she wants to get into some talk. She says, enough of this. I do want to say Vegas over the Broncos. Jimmy G had a very nice game, stays healthy the whole game, pulls out the victory. Rams beat up on the Seahawks. Could the Rams be back this year?
Yeah.
Interesting. And then, Jake, could you imagine a week one where the Chiefs, the Bengals, and the Bills lose to open the season? It's a possibility. Possibility. Man. Let's see. He said, if the Bills left Buffalo, I would burn all my memorabilia. Yeah, Dad, I hear you, man. I absolutely hear you. It'd be worthless, pretty much, for the most part. There's some history there, though, that you could probably get some money for it still.
I know the NFL is obviously a business, but I feel like there's no way they could ever let that happen. Like, knowing that they have one of the strongest fan bases and how ingrained we are with this team, how ingrained this city is with the team, I feel like it just could not ever happen under Rodgers' watch. And I dislike Roger Goodell more than many, many things and many people, but I don't think he would let that happen.
Yeah. All right, Sophia, you're talking already. How good is the Jets' run defense? I know their pass rush is top notch. It could be a soggy ground game tomorrow. And to touch on that, in the first game last year in November, when the Jets beat us 20-17, Jake, they ran all over us. They ran for 174 yards. Zach Wilson had a better passing rating than Josh Allen. and they had no Brees Hall, no Dalvin Cook. But anyhow, talk about this Jets run defense, what you see from them, and think about them.
Well, the run defense, there's something to be said about it. I mean, they have a brick wall up front, and obviously the key piece there is Quinnen Williams. I mean, he's an absolute dog. Their team is loaded. They have a ton of talent. I think they always get a lot of notoriety for their pass rush just because all those guys can rush the passer and they get after it. And Quinnen Williams is, saying he's going to break records and this, that, and other, right? But I just feel like, there are some really underrated run stoppers on that defense as well. You talk about Quentin Jefferson. You talk about Al Woods as a backup who rotates in. Quinnen Williams obviously is still there. Absolutely going to destroy it this year no matter what. It's inevitable. We got to find a way to neutralize him as much as possible. But I think the supporting cast on that D-line, on that front, is very talented. And I think it is an underrated skill set that they have because, they don't just get after the quarterback. They can stuff the run. The Bills aren't really known, I guess, over the last 6 years, really. They haven't been known for their rushing offense outside of what their quarterback can do for them, So it's going to be a challenge, and it's going to be a hell of a battle up front there. I'm really excited to watch O'Cyrus Torrence work, and I want to see some hat-on-a-hat football tomorrow. I want to see if we can get something going with that and help Josh Allen out a little bit and then open it up a little bit in the passing game and let her rip all day.
All right, that's fair, Jake. And do you feel comfortable enough that if it is soggy game and we got to run a little bit more, our run game's elevated from last year, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. I don't see how it can't be. We got a nice combo of fire and ice with James Cook and Damian Harris. And don't forget Latavius Murray, who looks really fresh right now. So I think it'll be a really nice change of pace with all of those guys. So I'm really, really eager. And I think James Cook can be a 1,500 total yard back this year.
Yards.
I really believe it. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that as well. If we utilize him in the passing game, which we really didn't last year. So hopefully we see a lot more of that this year. So let's get into it, Jake. So last year, obviously, I said the Bills lose that first game 20-17. There were 5 sacks on Josh Allen. And for those that are thinking 5 sacks, oh my goodness, Spencer Brown had a horrible game. Nope, Spencer Brown didn't even play. It was Questenberry in that game. And believe it or not, Questenberry only gave up 1 sack in that game. He gave up 3 hurries, so 4 pressures, and Mitch had 1 sack. Mitch gave up a sack and 2 hurries. And then the rest, if you watch the game, I was watching some film. I was going to try to have some film, but it was just too much to go through the all 22 for, from last season to go through all that. But a lot of it was, I want to use, what's his name? What's the guy, Marino's name? He does the Bills show.
Marino?
Joe Marino.
Yep.
I'm gonna use his term, pocket management. Some of the sacks were definitely pocket management. I mean, there was a few where Josh rolled out of the pocket and he tried to run. He was tackled behind the line of scrimmage. And there was another case where he rolled to his right and they had that sniffed out as well and sacked him. So you talked about Quinnen Williams. He had 3 sacks in both, in total between those 2 games. He had 1 in the first game, 2 in the second game. And he's just going to be a force to reckon with. And like I said, they ran all over us that game. And Zach Wilson, beat Josh Allen as far as quarterback rating. In the second game, 20-12, another 1-score game. And this time, we hold them in check. I think they only had a little over 70 yards running. But, Jake, obviously, let's get into the changes. I know it's pretty... It's kind of a silly question to even ask you, but what changes have the Jets made? And then what changes have the Bills made from last year? Because last year's gone. That's in the past now. And you could take some things from that. They have a fantastic defense, but talk about these upgrades that both teams made in the offseason.
Well, the New York Packers, the New York Jets, ended up going and getting 3 Packers, 3 notable Packers at least, in Aaron Rodgers, Alan Lazard, and Randall Cobb. So they have some players now that they didn't have last year that can certainly make a larger impact for them. I think, first off, bringing Aaron Rodgers to the team and having him as your starting quarterback, I think you automatically probably gain a +3 win advantage through that alone. And I know he hasn't played his best football over the last year and a half, but I saw what he did this preseason. I know it was 1 game, and listen, you can't put too much stock into that, but he's still Aaron Rodgers. And I think now you give him Garrett Wilson, you actually give him a legitimate weapon, a guy that is, can be in that Devontae Adams category soon here. So, Adrian Amos, that's another one. Good call there, Brett. Love that, brother. And Nathaniel Hackett. True. Very true. Yeah, that's a former Packers coach. He coached with Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron had multiple MVP seasons under him. So I think there is something to be said about that as well. But going back to Garrett Wilson, he's so damn good. He's going to benefit from this so much. He had over 1,000 yards last year, wins Offensive Rookie of the Year with the quarterback situation they had last year. So can you imagine what he's going to do this year with Aaron Rodgers as a quarterback? Like, that's a match made in heaven right there. So obviously you get a lot better in that space. You go and get Joe Tippmann as your center, although I don't think he's starting. I think the other Connor McGovern is actually going to be starting at center this year for them to start the year off at least, which is pretty interesting to see. They upgraded their pass rush a little bit, although, again, the guy they drafted, Will McDonald, I think they have him listed as like the third D end, which is actually insane. But they have some absolute dogs on the defensive line, as I mentioned. You got Carl Lawson, Jermaine Johnson from last year that they drafted in the first round. You got John Franklin Myers. You got Michael Clemens, Bryce Huff, who actually was notoriously the guy that injured Josh Allen's elbow last year on that play there. So I think they try to upgrade both sides of the ball on offense and defense, on the offensive and defensive lines. But whether they did enough, that's really, I don't know. I'm not sure if it is, just because looking at their starters, you got Dwayne Brown, who's aging, and I also think he's injured right now. They have Laken Tomlinson, who is a former Pro Bowler, but hasn't really been the same guy over the last few seasons. Elijah Vera Tucker, I think he can be very good. He's just been banged up, and he's got to prove himself a little bit. And then Mekhi Becton, another guy who they drafted very high and had super high expectations for, but again, just inconsistency and injuries have really hindered him. So they have a lot to prove. So I'm not ready to say that they got their offenses like this well-oiled machine. Sure, they have some really good weapons. They signed Delvin Cook. Breece Hall's coming back from injury. They still have Michael Carter, too, as their third back, and they have that Izzy kid out of Pitt who can run like the wind. I'm not ready to say that offense scares me as much as the Dolphins, though. I just don't see them in that same category. We saw what the Dolphins did today against the Chargers, and I don't think they're on the same level. And although they have Aaron Rodgers as their quarterback, there's something to be said still even about like chemistry and your personnel, because we saw what happened last year with Aaron Rodgers. He didn't have the same personnel. He's upgrading a little bit this year, but they don't have as good of a personnel as the Dolphins do. You look on paper, I feel like that can't even be debated. So in my opinion, are they the team to worry about in the AFC East? I'm going to say no. Are they better? Absolutely. And I think every week is going to be an absolute dogfight. And no game should be taken for granted, as it never should. The NFL is a week-by-week basis. But are they someone to be feared or scared of? I think definitely a little more concerned of. But I'm not ready to say that they're a better team than the Bills or that they're a better team than the Dolphins.
I'm not ready to say they're a better team than the Bills, but Jake, if I was going to have a follow-up question, I'd say where's one spot they did an upgrade, and I think you nailed it. It's that offensive line. It's pretty much the same from last year, although if you talk to our Jet rep, it's not the same that ended the year last year. So he said if all these guys, and there's just a lot of what ifs on that offensive line, a lot of cross your fingers and hope that they stay healthy. And we know the NFL, and they're one injury away, and I don't feel like their depth is there at all. So they're in a big hurt on that offensive line. Now, with that said, Jake, the reason why I still think they can be efficient is they got Aaron Rodgers. He's seen everything there is to see in the NFL. He can get rid of the ball quickly if he has to. He's got those running backs, Breece Hall, who we didn't get to see last year, and he's back. And now they have Dalvin Cook, who we did see last year, and Dalvin Cook took one to the house. So I think he can quickly get rid of the ball, get that out in space to those backs, and if he has to. And I think they will be able to. They ran the first game against us, 170 something yards. I think they're going to try to do that as well. So that's how I think they can be efficient, Jake. I mean, yeah, the O-line. Look at our O-line. Look at Joe Burrow's O-line, like in the last couple of years. Not very good, but they get rid of the ball quickly. They're smart on offense, and they're efficient, and they make things happen. And I think the same could happen here. Let's say Timmy here. Timmy says, I think the Jets offense is not going to live up to the hype. Hackett has been below average as a coordinator since he has been with the Bills.
That's a good point.
At Green Bay, it was LaFleur offense and not Hackett's.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Timmy. I could definitely agree with that. I think the only counter to that is last year they didn't have Nate Hackett as their OC, and it was still Matt LaFleur's offense, but you were missing Devontae Adams. So I guess we'll call that a wash. But that's actually well said. I mean, even going back to the days when he was with the Bills, he wasn't always, the greatest coordinator. So, yeah. And when you have a guy like A-Rod and Devontae Adams, you could do a whole hell of a lot with that offense anyways. So they probably made him look like this superstar OC when in reality, you have a Hall of Fame quarterback essentially doing your job for you. So good points there.
And you were correct, Jake, that Tippmann is not starting. It is McGovern who's going to start there.
Isn't that crazy? So, you wouldn't expect that, especially with Joe Tippmann being a guy that's like a fringe first rounder. I thought right away he'd be a plug and play. So I'm not sure what the deal is there, if he's having some trouble picking up the offense and the signals and the calls or what that is. But, yeah, very curious to see what happens there.
Either way, that is one area they have very good depth there. And who knows, if McGovern's struggling, you could see Tippmann sooner than later.
He's almost like Ryan Bates because he could play guard too. He's a taller center. He's like 6'5", so he could also switch over. If Elijah Vera Tucker gets injured again, God forbid, there's a chance he could switch over and play guard as well.
Yeah. So John Roberts says, what did Hackett do as a head coach for Denver?
Oh, not much. He made that team a dumpster fire and a lot of questionable decision making. And head coach is probably not his forte. I think he definitely belongs either as a position coach, as a quarterback coach, or as an offensive coordinator. We're really going to see what he can do this year as the OC for the Jets.
Yeah, Keith says the Jet O-line is still suspect, and he says don't let any Jet fans tell you otherwise. Yeah, completely. Brian, we haven't seen Brian in a while. Mr. Label / Brian Dable. I mean, Brian, you should be worrying about your team right now. We got a score right now. What's the update on the
let's see
Giants?
I just had it
Dallas.
Let's see.
I'll ask the channel there. He says, I have never once made a prediction for the Super Bowl, but I believe this year the Bills will finally win it. Yes,
26-0, by the way.
What is it?
26-0 Cowboys right now. Yeah.
All righty. Let's see here. What do we got here? Sean brought up a really good point on John Franklin Myers, rushing mostly in the wide 9 position on Deion Dawkins. If they do that again this week, Buffalo needs to rush the ball to the right of Dawkins.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that is certainly a weakness that they can expose there. They got some dogs. They got some really good pass rushers. And you talk about depth on the offensive line and the lack thereof. On the defensive line, they have plenty. I mean, they have a first-round pick who's a third stringer right now at the defensive end position. And then a guy last year in Jermaine Johnson who is a backup to Carl Lawson. So it's wild to see. They can kind of rotate in and out. They also still have Solomon Thomas, too, who is a former first-round pick a few years back, played with the Raiders last year. So they have some nice players on that D-line for sure. There's no doubt.
What do you think of their safety play? Because Sean's saying I'm saying not their safety, their linebacker play. He's saying both the safeties and linebackers are weak.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, C.J. Mosley, I'm not going to say he's weak. He's top 2 middle linebacker in the NFL. Quincy Williams, he's pretty good. He's not like, I would say he's average. He's not the greatest. He's not the worst. But I'm not going to say that their linebacker play is bad. I mean, they got C.J. Mosley, Sean.
I agree there.
He's saying, okay, you're saying he's not good in coverage. He's not great in coverage. That's his only flaw. But otherwise, he's top 3 middle linebacker in the NFL.
Yeah. Let's see here. Giants. Yeah, I'm just trying to catch up with everyone here. I think Brian, saying Bills have something to prove more than ever, and they don't have a target on their back. I think Bills will get a good win, something like 27-17. He's already going to the prediction. I love it. Because, you know,
that.
Brian jumps in. He's there for a couple minutes. He says, I got to go take care of the kids, and he's off and running. So he's giving his prediction. Hopefully he can stick around a little bit longer, Brian. Let's see here. What do we got? Sophia coming in with the word at camp was that Kincaid has really soft hands. His catches are muffled. That could help in rainy weather. So stoked to finally watch him play. So, Jake, we talked about the upgrades that the Jets made. Talk about the upgrades that the Bills made, including Mr. Kincaid.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean it's so encouraging to hear these things too. I think he is really going to be the real deal, and the biggest level of concern is just how often we utilize him. And if he's not on the field at least 80 to 85% of the time, I think a lot of people are going to look at this as like a failure of a first-round pick. So with his God-given ability and his talent, my gosh, he can do so many things for our offense. So really excited, obviously, about Dalton Kincaid. But let's talk about Osiris Torrance, too, who's going to step in and start at the right guard position. I mean, that is an incredible steal at pick 59, where we thought, by the end of the first round, he would have been taken by someone. And then it gets late into the second round, and we have a chance to jump up and grab him. And it's like, man, this is beautiful. We got 2 stud picks, back-to-back rounds. So obviously over the moon about both of those picks. Filling it out in free agency, we end up getting Deontay Hardy, who, I think he is he's got some things to maybe not prove, but I guess something to show as to why the Bills signed him, because it sounds great. The speed is great. The ability for him to stretch the field is great, but how are the Bills going to utilize him in the offense? Is he just going to be out there is it going to be another Nyheim Hines type situation where he's eye candy and maybe he doesn't even play 5% of the snaps? I think it'll be a lot more than that, but I love the move to go get a guy that can stretch the field like that. It's the utilization factor that I'm always worried about. But I think Ken Dorsey has learned his lesson. I'm going to give him a chance this year. And I'm excited to see how he incorporates all of these weapons in the offense, because then we got another guy, Trent Sherfield, who's had incredible chemistry with Josh, can play outside, can play inside, and he can play specials if we need him to. And the nice part with him is he's giving us an element that we've been missing, with the yak portion of the game. So, gosh, you got to love to see it. And I think he could really be a guy that comes in and contributes, 500, 600 yards this year. So really, really pumped up about that. The offensive line, we get the other Connor McGovern, who's going to be our starting left guard, which I like. That's a really nice, solid pick. He started last year with the Cowboys, and he's still relatively young. He's only 26 years old, so he has a really nice shot of coming in here and staying for future years to come, it's great to see. So filling out the offensive line, I think we got better there. I don't see how you can't say that we got better there. We have more depth. We got David Edwards now too. Obviously, we kept Ryan Bates. He's going to be our backup center, guard, tackle, whatever. You can play him literally anywhere on the offensive line. I think the only question mark, obviously, is at the right tackle position. But, we go ahead and we end up getting Jermaine Ifedi, which I thought was a great signing and really nice insurance for Spencer Brown. So really happy with that, too. And it was a late move. But, man, I love what we did on the offensive line. I really do, and I'm encouraged by it. So I think the only thing, again, Spencer Brown, but the fact that we do have an insurance policy is encouraging. And then defense, I mean, shoot.
Let me hold on one sec, Jake. I want to get to these super chats and say thank you.
Let's go.
Brian saying, I'll have a drink and wings, keep the extra 49 cents.
Hell
I love it. Sophia's out there. Smash, this is our year. Pray for a healthy season. Yes. Thank you so much, Sophia and Brian, for the super chats. We really, really appreciate it. And let's see here. And then Timmy Corks, Danny Dimes, looks like his rookie year. Danny Dimes.
Daniel Jones. Yeah. I watched about almost through the first quarter, and he was just kind of running for his life, and it didn't look super great. Obviously they're losing 26-0 right now, so that is tough. Really
All right, Jake, let's get back to the Bills and on the defensive side. What'd they do?
Yeah, defensive side, the biggest thing I think was signing Taylor Rapp, because that's going to be our future safety. and really, really excited to see how they incorporate him in the defense. I think we will have 3 safeties on the field at once a lot of times this year. He's a guy that can play up at the line of scrimmage. He can play in the nickel. He could play as like a linebacker, like a rover almost. So it's really exciting to see what we can do with him. And, obviously Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer returning back from injury. Hopefully they stay healthy all year long. That would be great. And then you incorporate Taylor Rapp with them. Holy smokes, we have the best safety tandem in the NFL. We went and got Leonard Floyd, who is an insurance policy for Von Miller, and a guy that's played his best football over the last 3 years. So that is exciting as well. I mean, he had 9 sacks last year, I think it was, and then 10 the year before and 9.5 the year before that. So it's like this guy's been consistent over the last 3 years. And last time he was on the field with Von Miller, by the way, they won a Super Bowl. So you may as well start calling the Bills the LA Bills, or the Buffalo Rams, I should say, because we're taking all those Rams players, Taylor Rapp, Leonard Floyd, Trayvon Howard. We got and David Edwards. I think 4 of them. So pretty cool stuff. Love the depth that we added there, and again, just really, really excited about it. I still am a believer in Dorian Williams as well, but we did go ahead and sign Christian Kirksey, and we did name Terrell Bernard our starting middle linebacker. So that's going to be something to definitely watch tomorrow night, see how he does in coverage, and it's going to be a really good test.
I have a follow-up to that for you, Jake, but I want to get back to a couple more Super Chats coming in. Go Bills podcast, 3 wings and a 40.
You guys are awesome, man.
Thank you. Tip, love it. And then Keith, so obviously if the Dolphins win, we're going to have a nice Super Chat from Keith every week. Feeling good, no feeling great. Go Fins, 36-34. My heart can't take games like that over the course of a full season. You're talking to a guy, same thing, Keith. I feel you. How many one-score games did we have last year, Jake? The word was that the Bills couldn't win the close ones. We won a ton of close ones. But definitely put my heart to the test last year. Good stuff. Thank you, Keith, and thank you, Go Bills podcast. By the way, I'm going to ask you this question. So I better have a follow-up. Let me start with Bernard. Let me start with where you left off. Terrell Bernard starting. Okay. We haven't seen this guy very much on the field. We didn't see him at all through preseason. And I don't know. What's your thoughts here? Because it's like, I love the signing of Christian Kirksey. I actually felt like maybe they elevate him. And maybe they will elevate him. That's another question I want to have for you. But Bernard, what's your thoughts? Look, I'm good with the call, but man, when he hasn't seen the field, he had a very few snaps last year and didn't see preseason, had the hammy. What's your thoughts on that? If I was to say, my follow-up question to you would have been, where did we not upgrade? And you could say middle linebacker as well. You already said tackle as well. Right tackle and middle linebacker. But what's your thoughts on Bernard getting the start, my friend?
I think they must have had this feeling that it was going to happen all along, and that's probably why they didn't want to push him back from, having that hamstring injury and getting him on the field too quickly, because they probably knew right away, like, this is going to be our starter. We drafted him in the 3rd round last year, and he is like a traditional weak side linebacker. So here's to see how he plays in the middle there. I love what he brings to the table because he's really good in coverage. And he was known for being really good in blitz packages in college. So that might be an element that we can really use his skill set for this year. And something that, he's not going to be that 6'5", like, guy in the middle like Tremaine Edmonds was, but he can do a lot of other things. And the way he's built, it's really unique because he is like a kind of like a hybrid safety linebacker build. So it reminds me a lot of what Thomas Davis was when he came to the NFL originally, because he was a safety and then converted to middle linebacker. So if he could be like that, that would be awesome. So I am that's definitely a position I'm going to be keeping an eye on tomorrow. I'm going to be watching him, very, very keyed in on him tomorrow. That'll be great.
Yeah, I see the Bills using him a lot in pressure because he was very successful with that in college. I am concerned. I know you said he's good in coverage, but if you read the draft profile, he does struggle a little bit with bigger. He's a smaller frame. As you said, these bigger tight ends now easily knock him off the ball. I don't say easily, but you know what I'm saying. And so he struggles with those bigger guys. And so we'll see. I do think they'll use him a lot where he was highly successful. He was a tackling machine. He was
Yeah, he
attacking
was.
the machine, and I see him blitzing quite a bit. I hope. In this new McDermott defense, which we're supposed to see tomorrow night, which, by the way, I'll save that because that is one of the advantages I think we have going into this game. Brian's saying, Jake, I need a basement like yours and a shirt
I
like yours
appreciate
too.
the hell out of you, Brian. Yeah, it's coming along, man. So we did the floors epoxy now, the ceiling's painted. The last thing I have to do is really frame this out because right now I'm living inside the Michelin, man. I got all this insulation up on the walls. It's all just that bubble insulation, whatever you want, diaper insulation. I don't even know what you want to call it, but yeah, it's coming along. But for now, the temporary setup is just great. So this is going to be the layout. It's just a matter of getting some walls up and all that good stuff. But thank you.
Brett coming in with another super chat. This is for Jake to do the luau. Come on, Jake, give us your best luau.
I'll tell you what, I wear nothing but Hawaiian shirts typically, Brett, especially in the summertime.
It's pretty easy, Jake. Just put the hands and do it, man. There you go.
I was doing that on the dance floor a few times with the last couple days. Great.
Oh, I love it. So funny. Thank you all again for the super chats. It's really appreciative. So, Jake, I wanted to flip it over back to the offense. You talked about that offense. I had a question. By the way, did you get to catch the red, white, and ruthless last night?
I sure did.
These
Boys,
guys came out of the gate on fire. They're part of the Mafia family now. They're part of the family, and they made the family very proud, Jake, very proud. But I asked them this question. What do you think about the Bills? Would you 12 personnel to start the game? 12 personnel. You talked about Deontay Hardy. I think they start with Kincaid in 12 personnel. What's your thoughts?
I agree. I think you go right for the gut right away. Start with 12 personnel, line one in the slot, line one on the line of scrimmage, and see what you can do there. I think that would be a very wise move.
All right, Jake. So we talked about last year's results, but again, that's last year. But talk to me about the Jets. Where do you think, obviously we've talked about where they've upgraded, but what do you think they're going to have to do to get the win against this Bills team?
They're going to have to use both of those backs, Delvin Cook and Breece Hall. And I don't know if the word is that Breece Hall is going to actually be playing. I'm not sure how often.
He's healthy. He's ready to go. Everybody on their injury report was a full participation in practice as of today. So they're insane with the Bills. I mean, we're good.
Pretty clean. Yeah.
Yep.
Which is great. I mean, you love to see that from both sides because you know you're going to get your best from both teams. So that's always great. I think for them, they're going to have to use their weapons, their go-to weapons on that offense. So Delvin Cook, Breece Hall, and Garrett Wilson. And that is going to be the key to victory for them. They have to just feed all of those guys in different ways. I think you can really expose our defense. I hate to say that, but I think you can expose our defense because we do seem to struggle at times against the home run hitting runs and, right up the gut even at times. So I feel like I'm hoping we get that in check for tomorrow. But, man, they got some really nice weapons on that offense and the running back room specifically because you can throw the ball to Breece Hall. You can throw the ball to Delvin Cook. You can, run some stretch plays. You can run it inside. You can, Garrett Wilson can do a lot of things for you too. So I think the biggest thing for them is, just keeping Aaron Rodgers clean because his mobility isn't what it used to be. And so that, offensively, I think that's how they can win the game. Defensively, Keith hit the nail on the head. Just keep the ball out of Josh Allen's hands. You got to find a way to neutralize him and make him panic a little bit. So if they can do that, they will have a very good chance at winning the game. Otherwise, it's going to be a nightmare.
So let me ask you about Garrett. We're talking about Garrett Wilson.
Yeah.
Christian Benford getting start at cornerback number 2. All right. And we talk, in years past, the Bills don't have like Trey follow the top receiver, whether he's lined up on the right or the left. They don't do that typically. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah. He plays one side of the field.
Okay. So with that said, Benford's going to have some opportunities against Wilson for sure. Like, why aren't, you didn't mention it, but I would try out that rookie cornerback number 2. He's not a rookie, second year, but I'd be challenging him early and often until he proves me otherwise.
I agree. 100% agree with that. Yeah. You want to attack your weaknesses. And while Christian Benford, I think has played extremely well, played well above his draft grade. He's definitely the weaker link between him and Trey White. So maybe attack him. I think you got to Got to keep the Bills honest. And yeah, I think that's definitely a good method too, Mike.
Yeah, I'm so excited about that matchup. I want to see that young guy. I mean, we got Kyrie Elam. I think he's going to get some play time, of course. Although I'd be shocked. Maybe I wouldn't be so shocked if they made him inactive for the game. I'd be really shocked if they did that. But I think he's going to get some play time as well. And then Dane Jackson's there as well. So we'll see. I'm super excited to see Benford. I know initially we were all like, Kyer, why isn't Kyer there? But Benford's the guy. He's proved it last year, Jake. He started as cornerback number 2 when Trey was out because they had Dane Jackson playing cornerback number 1, and Benford earned it, and then he got dinged up. But I'm excited about that matchup. I mean, okay, tell me what they're going to do, Jake. They're obviously not going to let him go one-on-one with Garrett Wilson, right? They're going to get him some help, double him up somehow.
So. Yeah, some safety help for sure. Yeah.
I mean, it's similar to like what we saw with Tyreek Hill. I was watching the Chargers today. I'm like, Tyreek seemed to be one-on-one with a lot of the corners, and he wasn't getting any. The corner wasn't getting much safety help today for the against Tyreek Hill. I think the Bills got to do that with Garrett Wilson.
I think the Bills need to be physical. That's something a lot of receivers shy away from. You got to get physical with these guys. You got to throw them off their game a little bit. And we're not known to play man coverage or anything like that. But if there's a chance, get physical with the guy. I think that can certainly change some things. And obviously keeping everything in front of you, especially in his own scheme, is very important. But make them pay for every catch they make. So that's there's something to be said about that too.
So let's pivot to the Bills here. And last year, Josh Allen was the leading running back for the Bills in both the games against the Jets. And so talk to me about the Bills. What do they got to do to get this victory against this? I mean, this defense is no joke, Jake. But upgraded offensive line, as we already talked about. What do you see the Bills doing to get this win?
Last year, the key to success for the Jets was basically bracketing and taking Stephon Diggs out of the game. So spreading it out, spreading the ball out, making the Jets realize that we have more playmakers than just Stephon Diggs. So I think getting Dalton Kincaid involved early is definitely a key to victory. I expect them to throw a few passes his way within the first quarter. I'm hoping at least 3 to 4 targets in that first quarter alone. So just being able to throw the underneath play and kind of spreading them out and keeping them honest, on defense, the Jets, keeping the Jets honest on defense, that'll be a big key for us. And, I'm not going to say establish the run or anything like that, but run it effectively when we need to. That's really important.
Yeah, I think there has. I'm not saying run the ball either, but a slight uptick when you got James Cook, you got Damian Harris, and you got Latavius Murray. I mean, let's utilize them a little bit more, and hopefully, if Josh Allen is the leading rusher for us again, Jake, that's going to be a problem, in my opinion. It's
not always a bad thing because
I know
he plays with his feet, and that's fine. Like if he has to do that, I'm totally good with it. Obviously, you don't want him out there taking shots left and right, but shoot, if there's an opening and guys are covered downfield, it is better than throwing an interception. I mean, he can make things happen, and then the defense starts to creep up a little bit because then they have to really spy Josh Allen and keep an eye on him. So maybe they'll open things up at times too. So I'm not always like super thrown off or turned off by that idea. But, yeah, you'd, of course, like to have your running back be your leading rusher. You don't want your quarterback having to do that all the time. So I'm with you on that part for sure.
Yeah, I felt like the Jets spied him pretty well, at least in the second game, because he ran for 2 touchdowns in the first game. He ran for something like over 80 yards, maybe close to 90 in the first game, and they kind of held him in check the second game. They have some fast, I'm going to use your word, they have some fast dogs on that Jet defense. So I feel like I would be spying him for sure with somebody. Let's see here. 26 at half. This is to our benefit, Jake. There's just a bum of a game. So people are like turning that off and coming over to Nickel City Mafia. By the way, to be sure to tip your staff tonight. As we said, you got $1 drinks and 50-cent wings all night long. So tip your staff by hitting that like button, smashing that subscribe, dropping a nickel on that subscribe button. Jake, I don't know if you knew, man. We're like 3 subscriptions away from 1,500.
Let's get there, baby. What are we doing? Spread the word. 3 more.
So if all of you just turn to your right, turn to your left, turn to your mom, your dad, your brothers, whoever, your friends who you know are Bills fans and say, hey, I know you have a YouTube account. How about supporting Nickel City Mafia? Get on out there and subscribe to that channel. Good stuff there. Who else we got?
I like these comments here. JT Bills coming in saying the Giants are the Bills circa 2018 with a $40 million quarterback instead of a rookie future star. Yeah. In the little bit that I watched, it definitely appears that Daniel Jones seems to be reverting back to rookie Daniel Jones, which is not the greatest thing in the world. Not what you want to see at all. And it seems like the Giants are kind of falling apart offensively right now. So, they try to do a lot to upgrade that offense, going and getting Darren Waller and poaching Isaiah Hodgins from us, who looked to be a future star in that system. And I think Brian Dable definitely brings the best out of his guys. So I'm a little surprised by Daniel Jones. I didn't think he would regress like that. So hopefully he gets back on track because, I do root for his success. Even though Brian Dable is no longer with us, he's still a Buffalo guy. He's from West Seneca. Like, he went to my alma mater. Like, there's a lot of connections there. So still got to root for that guy. And I still, I actually want the rematch in the Super Bowl, Bills-Giants. And this time, maybe the Giants miss a field goal. They go wide right.
That would be it.
How poetic would that be?
That'd be amazing. Let's see. We got Tom out there says I upgraded my jersey to a red Hamlin today.
Nice, brother.
Beautiful.
Cool.
So,
I just ordered my Reed Ferguson jersey, by the way, so that should be coming in like maybe 4 weeks or so.
Did you reach out to Reed? You said you were going to reach out to him.
I did. Media. Yeah, he has not gotten back to me yet, but fingers crossed.
We'll make it happen.
Yeah.
So one thing we didn't talk about, and I want to get your take on this, is I think one of the advantages that we have, we talked about the upgrades, we talked about where we're better, where they're better, where our weaknesses are. But one big advantage, and this is only if it holds to be true, and that is McDermott's new defense. Obviously, he didn't show his hand in preseason. And I mean, what are teams planning for? Are they looking at, okay, what did McDermott do in the past when he was the defensive coordinator? Are they going to stick to what they did with Frazier? They don't know. They have no clue what's going to happen. And I can't wait to see that tomorrow. And I think that gives us a huge advantage there, at least I think Sean said this on one of his shows as well, at least for a few weeks. There's no film. You don't know. He's got a completely different roster than he had when he was in Carolina. And how's he going to utilize these guys with his defense? So, Jake, what's your thoughts there?
With the Jets, I think it's going to be it's going to remain the zone approach. But I think definitely, he's going to throw in some different blitzing packages. You're going to see some stunts. You're going to see some rotational things on that D-line. I think A.J. Epinesa is going to play a big role in tomorrow's game, to be honest with you, Mike. He's going to be rotated in a lot because he's really good. That is one thing with A.J. Epinesa. He is great at running stunts, at running these different, packages. So I think, we'll be able to utilize his skill set a little bit, which will be great. And obviously having Leonard Floyd and Greg Rousseau, there's going to be a lot of that. We might send a corner blitz off the edge. We might have Taron Johnson rush in. We might have Saran Neal rush in. It's going to be a little bit of a mix with everything there. So it's not going to be overly aggressive, but it's definitely going to be more aggressive than what we saw last year against the Jets. So, that's going to be fun. I'm really excited to see what happens there.
I said this on the Red, White, and Ruthless yesterday in the chat. I said, bold prediction, Terrell Bernard strip sack for a turnover sometime in this game tomorrow.
So, I love that. Right. Hell yeah.
So again, Jake, we don't know. We'll see what happens tomorrow. I mean, all of us have been talking all off season. McDermott was aggressive in years past as a defensive coordinator. Are we going to see that? And I hope so. And again, I don't think he's going to be overly aggressive, but just to be a slight uptick than what we were last year. I mean, we were what, one of the teams that had the fewest amount of blitzes in the league, right? We've always been that type of team. So hopefully we turn it up a notch. I don't want to be the lowest blitzing team. Now, if you can get away with it, fantastic. But I'm not sure we can get away with it at least to start the year. So I love this advantage for us. So Jake, what else? I've been doing all the kind of talking and the topics. What else did you want to cover before we get into the predictions and bold predictions?
Yeah. Honestly, just kind of recapping week one, and you kind of talked about it a little bit earlier. Wouldn't it be wild? I don't even want to think about the Bills losing, but it is pretty wild to just see that the Bengals and the Chiefs, they're 0-1, and here we are. It's like the Bills, Bengals, and Chiefs were the 3 top dogs in the AFC, and gosh, I mean, that would be a crazy start if we were all 0-1. I'm not gonna forecast that or anything like that. I don't think the Bills are losing tomorrow. I really don't. I feel like it's gonna be a good solid win. But I think that's kind of the story. The Bengals didn't look sharp. The Chiefs didn't look sharp. I think Pat Mahomes played his ass off, and he did all he really could. He just didn't get any help. Kadarius Toney with like 4 drops, a pick 6 that went their way, the Lions. So Lions came to play. There's some surprise teams out there. How about Jordan Love and the Packers? They looked really good today. I think a lot of people felt like the Bears were ready to take the next step, and they looked like maybe what people thought the Packers would look like. So there's just a lot of week 1. You never know what's going to happen. There's always those weird games in week 1, and it might all just be a fluke, and then next week it'll get back to the status quo. But boy, it's football's back, and the defenses seem to have caught up quite a bit with the offense. And let me tell you this, like statistically this week, was there one, maybe 2 guys that were over 300 passing yards? Derek Carr and Tua with 400. I mean, it's pretty crazy to see. It seemed like a lot of guys were held in check, and even for fantasy teams and stuff, like numbers were a little down. They weren't what they used to, outside of like Tyreek Hill and Tua. Like I said, there really weren't a lot of guys that were like way up there. Justin Jefferson still put up numbers. CMC did, but there weren't as many as usual. So I think the defenses came to play this week, Mike. Might be the story of the week.
Yeah. I mean, do you feel typically that the defenses have the advantage at the start of the season?
Always.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So that's kind of a normal thing. We'll see if that holds. But let's talk about this game tomorrow. Before the predictions, let's say, and if this happens, I mean, my goodness, I'll have to turn the TV off. I can't watch any media. Let's say the Jets pull this off. For me, I'm not like panicking. I wouldn't be surprised if we lost, and I'll give my prediction in a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised, and I'm certainly not going to say, oh my God, the Jets are the better team. But imagine if they win, and what we're going to have to listen to for quite some time. It's going to be the Jets are truly the Super Bowl team. They are the team to beat.
No,
oh my God, just for that reason, we got to win this game.
Yeah, really.
But imagine we win, and how that flips that narrative so fast, because this is the New York media. Can you imagine what they're going to be saying if the Bills win that game tomorrow?
I feel like it's all how the Jets play too. Like if the Bills go in there and they win like handily, the New York media is going to rip them a new one. And then if the Bills go in there and they lay an egg, it's going to be like, oh, is Buffalo's, claim to fame, their run, is it over? Like, are the Jets now that team? Are they Super Bowl destined? Because they absolutely are going to say one or the other. It's just, yeah. I think no matter what, the media is going to be well buzzing the next day. There's no doubt.
Oh man, I know we'll have a worst case scenario. We lose. We're going to have a lot of Jet trolls coming into our channel. That's okay.
Sure.
We support every fan base. But
I love it.
Let's get to this, Jake. Now it is time. Let's give the score prediction. And let's start. Before the score prediction, I want the channel out there as well. I want the channel out there to give your score prediction. Give me 2 bold predictions, and then give me your final score prediction. 2 bold predictions.
Bold prediction. James Cook goes for 150 yards tomorrow.
Total, receiving and running. Okay. Rushing. Whoa.
Yep.
That's bold.
Little change of pace. Might have some rain in the forecast. James Cook, I think he's gonna really set the tone tomorrow. So, everyone's talking Dalton Kincaid. Everyone's talking Steph Diggs. How about James Cook? I think he's been the most written off guy for the Bills this entire offseason. We brought in Damian Harris. Maybe people are thinking, oh, Damian Harris might be the guy instead. I think James Cook is going to set his name in stone tomorrow. So my bold prediction, 150 rushing yards from James Cook tomorrow. My other bold prediction, just because I feel like we always do it, I'm going to say pick 6 from none other than Jordan Poyer. Everyone said, hey, Jordan Poyer's slow. He didn't look as fast as he used to against Pittsburgh when he was trying to chase it down. It was Jalen Warren when he had that 62-yard touchdown run. Looks slow. He's looking old. Guess what? Pick 6 tomorrow just to shut the haters up. How about that?
I love it. And then your score prediction, Jake. Your score prediction.
My score prediction, I'm going to say 27-21 Bills. It's going to be a barn burner. It's going to be hard fought. It will be close right until the very end. And I think within the last 5 minutes of the game, it's going to totally flip. And we'll know who the better team is at that point. And I think it's going to be the Buffalo Bills.
All right, so I got a couple bold predictions. I already mentioned one earlier, but I'm going to add two additional. So I mentioned that Bernard has a strip sack for a turnover. That's one bold one. Yep. Second bold one, because I'm tired of hearing it. Tight ends never, most tight ends never really do anything in their first rookie season. Kincaid goes for 100 yards. 100 yards receiving. And then pick six. Who do you think I'm picking?
No, Taron Johnson.
Taron Johnson. TJ. Yes, exactly. So there's my bold predictions. Score predictions. Whew, man, it's going to be a dogfight. I think it's okay. So both the games last year, the winning team scored 20 points. Mm-hmm. I think the offenses obviously are better on both teams than they were last year. So I think we have a little uptick in the scoring, believe it or not, even though I know you said typically the defenses have the advantage. It's not going to be like the Charger Dolphin game, but I'm going to say 31 Buffalo, 24 Jets.
All right, I like
24.
And I believe the Bills are 2.5-point favorites right now as of this airing. Yes.
Yeah. So let's see here. We got Keith saying 26-20 Bills. We got Shiloh saying woof, woof, woof to the Bills. That's Brett's dog. And, Tom says, I still refuse to predict the score. J.A. throws for over 150 yards. I certainly hope he throws for over 150 yards. And then Hannah says 27-17.
Everyone likes the 27. I like it. I'm with you, Hannah.
Yeah, so when we did the preseason predictions, my dad's saying, I said Bills lose in game one, so I will stay with it and say Jets 31, Bills 27. He sees it as being a higher score as well this time around. Yeah. So love it, love it. Can't wait. Bill. We are less than 24 hours away. By the way, I want to say Sunday ticket, I finally signed up for it today, and it was solid today. It was absolutely solid. I've had issues with DirecTV's Sunday package sometimes, but I thought it was fantastic. So still getting used to it, but happy to have it. So, Dad, we do have the NFL ticket subscription, so I'll be talking to you soon about that.
I love it for you, Mike. I think you're going to really love YouTube TV. Google should be paying me under the table because I promote the hell out of YouTube TV. I will encourage anyone to go and get that. Cut the cord. Go get YouTube TV if you still want to watch television.
Got Nicholas Smalter out there, 50-0. Do you know Nicholas?
Newly married Nicholas Smalter. So this is
okay.
That, Mike. So I had the honor and pleasure to be in this wedding. Boy, it was a blast. I mean, we freaking rocked that dance floor. I think the whole entire barn was shaking. The venue was gorgeous. Nick, you looked fantastic, brother. Olivia was beautiful. The whole family was beautiful. You felt so much love in that building, and it was so incredible. And my parents were there too, Mike. So it was just a really cool moment to share. And it was awesome because Nick had me as a groomsman, and it was like everyone that was in that wedding was from a different point of his life. So it was just really cool. The unique bond that we all got to share in that. It was tremendous. So always appreciate your support, brother. You have a great time on your honeymoon. Not going to say where that is because I know you're keeping it a secret, but you enjoy it, man.
Yeah. And then we got Jules Marie out there. I'm so excited for tomorrow. Yes. Can't wait, man. Less than 24 hours. I mean, thankfully it's a work day. I mean, it will keep my mind off of things. And for me, it starts earlier. You guys got to wait till 8:15. It's 5:15 on the West Coast, so it will be here sooner. I'll be excited about that.
You're so lucky about that, too, because I think about that. Football starts at 10 a.m. on Sundays for you.
Yep.
Ends at what, 6? Or no, I'm sorry.
Well, it ends at 8:30 if I'm watching the Sunday night football show. So, but it is nice at 10 o'clock. You wake up, you have some breakfast, get some things ready, and there it is, football time. Football time.
Yeah.
So Go Bills podcast. He's also wanting people to sign up. $50 off on that YouTube NFL ticket package until the 18th. Yep, you're right.
Oh, that's great, man.
And then Tom saying, I'll bet 1,000 nickels on the Bills.
Hell yeah, Tom. Hell yeah. Hey, I have my nickels. They're around here somewhere, actually. They were right next to me. I got to find them. But I'm going to have to start showing those on the channel again. Thank you, Ken Tom, for sending those. They are awesome.
Wow, we have an update here, 33-0 on the Cowboys. You know, Jake, we might talk about doing a little halftime show tomorrow. So we'll see. I want to do more of those this year. Definitely try to jump on at halftime and talk about what's happening.
Sure. Nice part is I'm right around the corner here, so I won't get the boys over tomorrow, but they'll be on that side, so I'll just come right over here and bing, bang, boom.
And the other nice thing, it's quick, right? We only have a few minutes. We got 10, 12 minutes. We have to be done, and we'll jump off. So we'll see. Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
So, Jake, this was a huge week for Nickel City Mafia. Let me talk about a few things. Obviously, we already talked about it earlier, but we had the Red, White, and Ruthless kickoff on the Nickel City Mafia network yesterday. Sean and Brett absolutely loved the show. Fantastic. If you want to get even more in depth on the pregame show, go check out the show from yesterday. We also had the AFC East Summit kickoff on the Nickel City Mafia network this week, and that show was fantastic as well. So go check it out. They go live every Tuesday, 8 p.m. So check them out. And then the Red, White, and Ruthless, they go live every Saturday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. And Jake, we have solidified 2 co-hosts for our Buffalo Sabres show. My dad should be happy to hear this. Dad, Buffalo Sabres coming to Nickel City Mafia within the next 30 days. So a lot of things going on here, Jake.
I know, it's absolutely incredible. I mean, we're building the empire, if you will, and I'm really excited about it. We got some other stuff going on in the background too, and just really excited for the future here, Mike. We need those. Let's get that 1,500 subscribers though first. We need what? Two more subscribers.
Two more according
1,500 guys. Come on now.
Yeah, 2 more according to Brett. He must know somebody. I hope he didn't have Shiloh sign up on a YouTube account and have him, use his paw to subscribe.
No bots. We want all real people and all people that actually enjoy our content. So if you don't like our content, you don't have to subscribe. But if you do, we encourage it because it's great stuff.
Definitely. And like I said, closing call. The bills are out. We've just sent out the bills. Hopefully you pay those quickly. But tip your staff kindly. Hit that like button, add a comment, and drop a nickel on that subscribe button. Jake, that's it, man. Let's go. I'm going to go. Actually, it's a waste of time to go watch this football game. I was kind of like, man, we can get to watch a little bit of football, but what a waste. But thank you, everyone. We had a lot of folks out there on the channel today watching us, and we appreciate you. So let's end this on something that should fire you up. Are you ready, Jake?
Hell yeah.
Ready for this?
Let's do it. Go Bills.
All right, everybody. Go Bills.
Bills Mafia, circling the wagon, you feel me? Nickel City Mafia, let's go!
Josh Allen, quarterback supreme, leading the Bills to the top of the league. Weapons by his side, and that defense hella mean. Buffalo's got a team that must be seen. I said Buffalo's got a team that must be seen. Yeah. Come on. J17 leading the charge. Buffalo Bills on the rise. Passing game on point. Ain't no mirage. Happening right in your eyes. Ain't no surprise. Buffalo stacking the QB. Stephon Diggs holding in the pass. Group cars didn't have to go deep. We're circling wagon. Just wait and see. From Wyoming to the NFL, Josh Allen's got the skills. Air raid, deep ball, touchdown for real. Leading the Bills to playoff drills. Real time, this ain't no drill. Cold game, we're giving them chills. Check the score, now you know the deal.
Nickel City Mafia.